Hey guys, it's Dana and it's Tuesday, so we're going to talk about money. And today I want to talk about budget percentages. Okay, so you know I like to get right into it, so let's get right into it. In the back of Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover book, and also in almost anything that he sells, he has in the back recommended percentages. There'll be a chart. So in the back of this book, it's on my version, page 225. So recommended percentages, basically how much of your money should go to different categories. And I did a video talking about this maybe 2 years ago. I don't know when. So I did a past video. I'm going over percentages. So I wanted to do another one because after I did that video, for some reason, I realized I didn't have daycare in there for some reason, which daycare for us is a huge percentage. We have been paying for daycare for 10 plus years at this point. We have about a year and some change left to go before we are finished with daycare. But daycare is actually not listed on this list. So I don't hear Dave Ramsey talk about it very often. If you're a Dave Ramsey follower, if you're not, you're probably like, what the heck are you talking about? What book? So anyway, I don't hear him talk about that a lot. And I did not discuss it in my prior video. So I wanted to touch on it in this video. So let's just start with that. So for daycare, which is not listed in Dave Ramsey's chart, what would be a good percentage of your household income, of your monthly budget that you would be spending? So in order to calculate this, if you're trying to figure out what the percentage is, all you have to do is take your monthly budgeted amount for that category and then divide it by the total monthly income you have coming in for that month, and then times that by 100. Got it? All right, easy enough. And then that'll give you your percentage of your household income for that month that you are spending towards that category. So for daycare, my husband and I, we spend 18% of our monthly income on daycare, and we have 4 kids. Keep that in mind. All right, so that's a pretty hefty chunk, I think, of our monthly income that we have going towards that. So yeah. It's actually not almost, but it is equal to what we spend on housing. So 18% of our household income goes towards our mortgage, housing. And the suggestion is to have it be 25% or less. So that way you're not house poor. Right? Now keep in mind with these percentages that if you are very low income or if you are very high income, then you may not be within the recommended range of these percentages. So if you have a really high income, of course you're going to have a much smaller percentage going towards these categories such as food, as opposed to if you have a really low income, it's going to be a much higher percentage. All right. And then obviously, so depending on where you are in the scale there, it impacts it. So basically it's just a guide. It's a range, something I always just say, it's something to look into, keep track of, to know what your percentages are. That way you can adjust, maybe see, wow, we're spending way more money over here than I realized we were. That's why I think it's a good thing to look at your percentages on a monthly basis or, every quarter if you want to, or at least once a year, or at least once. Look at your percentages per category of spending. So housing, the suggested range is 25 to 35% of your monthly budget, monthly income going towards that. Obviously, the less it is, the more money you'll have towards other things. Then charitable gifts. So 10 to 15%, and this is what basically is your tithe. So if you are a religious person and you tithe, then that would be your 10% off the top that you would be giving to your church, or if you like to give to charities, 10 to 15% is the recommendation. Saving, the recommended is 5 to 15 or 10 to 15%. 15% is the recommendation once you're debt free, once you have a fully funded emergency fund. 15% is what you would just put into your 401k, or that's what you're going to be investing. So it's a little bit confusing if you follow Dave Ramsey. So saving, does that not include your retirement, that 10 to 15%? Because what about your sinking funds, your funds for your savings account, which is also sinking funds? You need to have categories within that, which is a separate topic, to save for a car replacement, for Christmas, those kinds of things. A whole bunch of stuff can go into that. Food, how much on food? So 5 to 15% is a good percentage. We spend, too much, I think. We spend too much. We're definitely 15%. We're at that range. A little bit more maybe. I think we spend way too much money on food, which again, I've talked about in a separate video. Transportation should be about 10 to 15%. We spend 4% on transportation, which is our car insurance and gas. So we have a really small percentage on transportation because our cars are both paid off. Clothing, 2 to 7%. I've heard it said that a lot of people, when they finally start doing a budget and tracking how much they're spending, they realize they're spending way more on clothing than they really want to be. We actually spend 1% on clothing, pretty much nothing. We have lots of months where I'm stuffing that envelope for clothing and we just build up the money. We don't spend a lot of money on clothing at all. Insurance should be 10 to 25%. So this might be your life insurance premiums that you're paying, your health insurance premiums. Recreation, fun stuff should only be 5 to 10%. And then if you are paying debt, if you're paying down debt, Dave Ramsey's book here says 5 to 10%. But obviously, you want to be throwing way more at it if you can. If you can get more, a higher percentage going towards your debt, then of course, do it. That's what you want to be doing, is lowering all the other percentages, other expenses, so that way you can beef up the amount that you are putting towards your debt so you can get rid of it as fast as possible. Okay, so the most important thing is to look at it, to calculate your percentages if you can of categories so that you can see where you're spending your money realistically, which categories are maybe you overspending on. So it's good to know, right? It's good to know. I was just telling the kids the other day, the 2 things I think you need to win in life is to avoid debt and to have a plan. I firmly believe that. Avoid debt and have a plan. All right. Few other things important, but that's most important. I really try to drill that into my kids, is to have a plan. And you can't have a plan if you don't know what's going on. If you don't know where you're spending your money, how are you supposed to have a plan? All right. Okay, guys, I am here every single Tuesday, so please subscribe if it's your first time watching me. And I have 4 children and we live in the Philadelphia area, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.